What is going on, guys? J-Hoy back with you today. So happy new year. I am back. So I want to talk about the Ottawa Senators, and I don't want to say recent struggles, but recent performances, and how they can fix the second half of the year. So first things first, guys, I want to tell you the lines from last game. Kind of questionable, and they have been for a while. Now I understand there's injuries, and there's some guys not playing the way they should, or not really playing well. So let's look at the first line real quick, and I might throw a graphic up on the screen for you guys. But the first line is Zach Smith, Kyle Turris, and Mark Stone. So Turris and Stone definitely need to be in the top two lines. Now they definitely play that type of game. Now Zach Smith is a fourth liner. He's not a first liner by any means, and I'll get to that once we get to more into the other lines. Then you look at the second line in Hoffman, Zibanejad, and Ryan. Now, this top six, usually, when Clark MacArthur is healthy, you could pretty much intermix any of these players, and they're going to play well for you. But with the injuries, and Clark MacArthur's only played either 1 or 4 games, I'm not sure which one, because I looked at a couple different players. But these top six are they could be a really good, top six. But then you look down at the bottom half, and I don't want to say this is the reason why we're losing, but it's just strange. Now you have Max McCormick, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Alex Chiasson. Now, if you look at this team, again, on paper, it's an AHL call-up guy who plays more of an energy role than a grinder, a scorer, all the different roles you want to have on a team. Now he plays impact role to where you can put him on your first line, you can put him on your fourth line, and he's going to play the same. Right now he's not always the most scory person, but he does get points from time to time, no matter how hard he tries. Now he can play on the penalty kill, you can play him on your power play, stand in front of the net, energy guy, just whatever you want to do with him, he pretty much can play that role. Then our fourth line is Shane Prince, Curtis Lazar, and Chris Neal. Now, this line is probably the most strange out of all of them, only because, again, on paper, you have a scorer, a two-way guy, and a tough guy. Now, you obviously want your tough guy to be on your last line. But why the other two? Now, those two should usually be playing third line. Now, if you look at the whole team, you have everyone mixed in with everyone right now. Now, if you're trying to balance your scoring and spread out your scoring and get scoring from every single line, then they're doing a great job. But if they're not trying to do that, then I'm really questioning why any of these players are in some of their positions. Now, Zach Smith had a couple really good games, and I understand that. But to instantly move him to the first line left wing to play alongside arguably two of your best players, now that's kind of questionable. Now, if I were going to make these lines, I definitely have not Zach Smith as first line left wing. I'd have Mike Hoffman. Now, Mike Hoffman is a guy that you can put him on either of these top two lines, and he's going to perform for you. So I'd have Hoffman, Turris, and Stone. That's a really good line. Stone's not really of a scorer. He's more of just an offensive guy that can put up points, but he also plays really good defense. So if you can have a really good defensive, offensive guy, if that makes sense, Turris, who's the playmaker, and then you have Hoffman, who pretty much does everything offensively for you, then you have a really good first line. So then that leaves your second line as it sits now with the injuries. You have Shane Prince, Mika Zibanejad, and Bobby Ryan. Now, Bobby Ryan, even though we got him to be a scorer, he's just an offensive guy. So to play him on the second line in this situation is kind of, I don't want to say questionable, but if you're going to have Hoffman putting up the goals in the first line, then you don't really want them playing together, only because Hoffman's a scorer, and do you want Ryan to be a scorer, or do you want him to be an offensive guy? Now, if you're going to pay a guy, I think it's, $6 million or $7 million to, stick around and be a scorer, then why don't you put him in a where he fits kind of thing? So you play Ryan on the second line with Zibanejad, who's kind of a two-way, underperforming center, and you have Shane Prince, who's an offensive guy. So that might, trigger Zibanejad to be more offensive and, get on more offensive chances. Then you have the third line of Max McCormick, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Curtis Lazar. Now, the reason I moved Curtis Lazar to a right wing is for a couple reasons. Now they keep saying they want to play Lazar in a center role. Now, if you look at our team, our centers are filled. Now, the way I'd have centers is Turris and Zibanejad as your top two, and then Pajot, and then you have Zach Smith. Now, if you guys can't count, that's 4 centers. And there's only 4 lines, so that's 1 center a line. Now, I know that's obvious to a lot of you, but if Chris Lazar were to play center, you'd have to either move your top 2 guys, which isn't going to happen, move Pajot, or move him to the 4th line and have Zach Smith play a wing spot. Now, that's just strange to me because Lazar should be a right wing. He doesn't play a center. Now, if you want to play him in, or if somebody gets an injury or a penalty, then you move him to a center. But not in this situation. So the last thing I want to talk about, guys, is the defense. Now, I did kind of go over the halfway mark, but Frederick Claesson and Erik Karlsson on your first line. Kind of strange. AHL call-up and your best defenseman on the same line. Kind of, interesting. Then you have Patrick Rierkach and Mark Borowiecki. So you have an underperforming two-way guy who's kind of, like I said, he's struggling. Then you have Mark Borowiecki, who's kind of the same thing as a Max McCormick. He brings the energy, he brings it every shift. He's a physical guy, and he's the next tough guy for your team. As Chris ends up his career eventually here soon. Then you have the third line of Mark Mathot, who's apparently your top 2 defenseman with Karlsson, who doesn't play like it because he's terrible. And then you have Chris Weidman, who is an undersized offensive defenseman. So when you look at that team, it's okay at best. Now, you definitely need to upgrade your defense in trading, in free agent wise, or whatever. Now you see all these teams, draft good defensemen and get a bunch of good players from free agents, but they never do anything because they're a budget team. Now they call themselves a budget team. I'm not just trying to offend them or whatever. They call themselves a budget team. Now they have about $6 million to spend, but they don't spend it. Now you have on the bench right now, you have Jared Cowan on the defense. Now Jared Cowan, he's a top 10 pick in the 2009 draft. A year after Erik Karlsson. Look what Erik Karlsson's done. He's the arguably best defenseman in the league. But then you have Jared Cowan, who's drafted, I believe, even higher than Erik Karlsson. Yet he's absolutely terrible. Now, if he, fit the role as a defensive defenseman and filled that role perfectly, then you have a perfect top 2 defenseman. But you don't. Jared Cowan needs to be traded ASAP. Because he's not going to get the time. And if you're going to call up a guy and instantly play him on your first line, then you have no future in Ottawa. Now, what could be that case is there's a ton of people. Now, you always see, some brothers like the Stalls, or even, who else is there? There's the Hamiltons even in Calgary. But then you also have the Stone brothers who are playing a part. Now, I don't want to take anybody out of their role here, but if you have underperforming guys and guys you want to put in the lineup in different situations, then you also have Michael Stone in Arizona, who you could easily get. And, Michael Bodker, I think, just signed an extension, or was talking about an extension, but he could play that top 6 role for you even when MacArthur and Mahalik are out. But anyway, guys, that's all for me today. If you guys did enjoy it, please leave a like and a comment to what you guys think. If you guys think I'm wrong, or what do you guys think, tell me in the comments. I do read all of them. And subscribe for more. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later.